Um, Greg is out of town tonight, so I'll just be pinch hitting. We don't have a lot of heavy lifting on the agenda, so we can probably proceed fairly quickly. We do not have any minutes to review and approve at this meeting at this point, so we can skip over that. We do have warrants that are making their way through the process, and we can then move to the superintendent's report.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mackin, and welcome back to the 2013-2014 school year, everyone. It's really great to be back, and I want to commend the faculty and staff and administration of the schools for a really great opening. I also want to take a moment to update you. As you were aware, Alana Johansson did a fundraising effort to get school supplies and backpacks for students that could be distributed for those students that may be in need of those kinds of supplies to start back to school. And she worked with several students from the high school on this project, and I am pleased to report to you that at the end of the day, they were able to make 40 backpacks with at least 3 generic packs for each grade level using the supply list. So certainly a worthy effort there, and we want to commend the students that participated and thank them for their efforts in serving others in the community. Our children arrived back to school, you know, on August 27th, and they were really happy to be back at school. Well, the majority of them were anyway. And the energy and stories of the summer fun and new backpacks, particularly down at the primary school, it's always very exciting at the primary school to see the students with their first day outfits and that glint in their eyes that really is a very exciting time. And I have to say they keep that throughout the most of the school year as well, because our schools are a very engaging and happy place to be, thanks to the efforts of all our educators and the support of the parents as well. But you know, these initial days, students are spending basically learning about their classroom routines and the expectations and how we work and play together well. Physical education classes at the primary school are focusing on safety and how they properly use the playground equipment in the front of the school. And they also, we have our music classes reinstated at the primary school, and those are held in the library at this point in time, since we've repurposed the music room there at the primary for the purpose of a classroom. The principals are reporting that the teachers arrived very eager and refreshed on the 26th this way as well, and they began to work on goals as well as getting ready for the students the next day at the primary school. They had some professional development activities focused on how to use document cameras, as well as the iPads and other curriculum materials that have been purchased to enhance instruction there. And we want to thank the parent-teacher organizations for providing a really lovely lunch again this year for the teachers to enjoy that first day that they were back for professional development. Open houses are coming up. Just to remind everybody, we kick off with the 6th and 7th grades on September 5th. That's tomorrow. All of the open houses begin at 6 o'clock and should conclude around 7:15. The 4th and 5th grades open house is on September 9th. Grade 3, September 10th. Grade 2, September 11th. Grade 1, September 13th. And kindergarten September 16th, and then we conclude all the open houses on September 19th with the high school being held on that particular day. And those open houses are posted at the school website. And once again, 6 o'clock for those to begin, and you can anticipate being there until about 7:15. And I know we always have a good turnout for those particular open houses. Lunenburg parents faithfully attend those, and it's always a good time for parents to get to know a little bit more details about the individual classrooms that their students are participating in, also the building itself and the routines they're in. And this year we'll also have representatives from the school building committee that will will be available. We'll have the design boards in the hallway and be available to speak with parents about any questions that they might have, plus giving them the opportunity to see those design boards up close, and that certainly will be of greater assistance in them as seeing the layout of the building as well as the site design than perhaps looking at those PDFs online. So we look forward to seeing everyone there. Mr. Santry tells me that Turkey Hill Middle School is delighted to report a very positive first week of school as well for both students and staff. Their fourth graders, having attended either a late spring or an August recap tour of the building, felt confident stepping into the new setting and expressed satisfaction with both their team of teachers as well as the opportunity to decorate their newly assigned lockers. Always a popular first day thing for particularly the fourth graders or whichever classes is starting at the Turkey Hill Middle School and having that first experience with lockers. Hallways and classrooms were waxed to a high sheen in each of the buildings thanks to our hardworking custodial staff. Schedules and other important paperwork were distributed, of course, by our highly efficient and helpful administrative assistants across the district. And the initial days of school are always spent introducing the rules, routines, and expectations so we can make sure that we maintain that safe and comfortable learning environment. I can tell you on behalf of all the administrators that we're very appreciative to the efforts of both families and the staff for ensuring such a smooth transition to the new school year. And likewise at Lunenburg High School, they started the year with a full day for the 8th grade students and a delayed start for the 9th through 12th. That gave the 8th graders an opportunity to be in the building for about 2.5 hours and get oriented to the building without having the other students there. And we really are appreciative to McCarty Busing for helping us make sure that that happened. So that first day we effectively had 4 runs of buses instead of the 3 in order to make that happen. And as I said, the bus company was very easy and helpful to work with, and we appreciate their efforts. 45 student leaders were present to facilitate the 8th grade orientation, and the students there from the 8th grade reported that they found that to be very beneficial in alleviating the anxiety connected with moving to the high school and also allowing them to be more comfortable in the building. And one of the great traditions at Lunenburg High School is that orientation is really done for the 8th grade by students in the building, and those great student leaders, many student leaders there at Lunenburg High School. Now that we're 1 week into the school year, at the high school in particular, the routine's pretty well established and students are back into the flow of the school day. Mr. Spadafino reports classrooms are very much alive with teaching and learning, and the music program is, of course, doing extra hours, having had an successful band camp again, and the athletic teams are opening the seasons this week, and students are back. The buildings and fields are alive with activity, and we're looking forward to a great school year. So we're welcoming in this particular school year, and I think the school committee has a copy of some of these slides. So in the booth they have the slides. We have some new teachers that I'd like to introduce everyone to. Lynn Marabello, who's no stranger to the 4th grade, certainly having done some substituting there for us last year, but Miss Marabello will be a 4th grade teacher this year. And Brittany McGurl, also, who has worked with our special education program at the high school as a long-term substitute, and she'll be teaching in one of our Achieve programs at Turkey Hill Middle School, and we welcome both of those ladies to the district and Turkey Hill Middle School and congratulate them because it's a very competitive field that exists out there in terms of teaching positions, and we're really focused on getting top-notch teachers into the district, and these 2 ladies certainly fill that bill. Also, I want to introduce to you Richard Cohen, who's going to be a physics and AP chemistry teacher. Rich, as you know, served previously on our school building committee, very active in the community, but he's returned to the classroom, and we certainly welcome Rich back and appreciate his efforts this summer, really making sure that he's geared up and ready to go for that AP chemistry class as well. One of our teachers was awarded professional status this year. That was Nicole Bienvenu, and Nicole, of course, teaches down at the Lunenburg Primary School, and we certainly congratulate her on that accomplishment. When we come back to school each year, we like to recognize the staff and their years of service to the community, to the schools in particular, and our students. And we usually start with 20 years of service and go up from there, and that's what we're doing this year again. So I'd like to recognize Don Guerin at Lunenburg High School, and Sharon McCullough and Erin Ann Snyder, all of whom are at Lunenburg High School, actually, at this point in time, for 20 years of service to the Lunenburg Public Schools and the students of our schools. We have several teachers that either have between 21 and 24 years of service, and their years of service are listed, but I'd just like to recognize for their service Tim Normandin, Phil McMurray, Jen Nash, Geraldine Sampson, Michael Quartermars, Sarah Sabatini, Robert Hill, Joanne Deming, Christine Bassett, Kay Hillman, Dana Belair, and Steve Kayajonian. Once again, those educators and personnel have served in the Lunenburg Public School System for 21 to 24 years. With 25 years of service this year, Lori McDougall and Sandra Curley. As you know, Sandy is our business manager, and Lori does both the art program as well as the library program down at the primary school. And we have a long list as well of staff who have served for 26 through 29 years of service. Once again, just reading the individuals with those years of service: Rhonda Mulatus, Kristen Mackey, Judy Haley, Suzanne Barney, Mike Hannigan, Jeanette Byrie, Steve Archambault, Elaine Blaisdell, Sharon Kimball, Sheila Sozik, and Mary Beth Ford. And finally, what we refer to as our master and most senior teachers in the district, those with 30 or more years of service: Maria Quartermarsh, this is the beginning of her 30th year. Sandy Lessert, also the beginning of her 30th year. Lisa Stone with 31. Judy Mooney, beginning her 32nd year of teaching students in the Lunenburg Public Schools. And Dale Diamantopoulos and Nancy Carey with 33, both 33 years of service to our students. So congratulations and grateful appreciation to all of those folks who have made such significant contributions throughout the years. And I think, certainly our schools and our community are well served and have benefited from these exceptional educators. And of course, they're there to help those new educators come in and serve as mentors and master teachers and professional development providers in order to keep our instructional programs strong for all our students. At this time of year, I always like to give the school committee an update on our enrollment, and I'd like to proceed with that at this point in time. The PowerPoint, as well as your handout, provides you a class-by-class listing of the number of students that are enrolled. But I'd like to point out just some highlights in terms of currently at the Lunenburg Primary School, we have 512 students that are enrolled. Of those, 507 students are attending. There are 5 students at the primary school who who are either placed out of the district or who receive preschool services, just related services, and so they're not enrolled and counted into our preschool count, but they do receive services from us, so we wanted to include them in the count as well. Just a reminder that our preschool, starts at this level and goes up from here, because as students in our community turn age 3, if they are students with disabilities on individualized education plans, meetings are held to determine if they continue into our preschool program. And so we see that number advance as the year goes on as well. Just as a point of reference, there were 512 students last year enrolled at the primary school when we did our October 1 count, which is a very significant count date for the state reporting and funding. And this year, right now, we begin with 512 students enrolled, and 507 of them are attending and in seats each day. The range in terms of class size at the Lunenburg Primary School is from 21 to 26 students. Our average class size at the primary school is 23 to 24. As we've moved from having 6 sections and classroom units that are 140 to 145 students, we still have one of those grades out there, that being the 8th grade. We've cut back and basically offer 5 sections. That has impacted our class sizes, obviously. So I think that's something we want to make sure that everybody has a clear understanding of. At the middle school, and this is a separate slide, so I'll give the booth time to move to it. We have basically 486 students that are enrolled at Turkey Hill Middle School for the 4 grade levels that are there. 481 of them are attending each day, and 5 receive their services out of district, but are enrolled with us. Just a comparative number for you, at Turkey Hill Middle School in October 1 last year, there were 501 students enrolled. So you see there's about a 15 student decline relative to the Turkey Hill Middle School, from 501 to 486, with 481 in attendance. The average class size at the middle school is 24 to 25 students, and the range is 22 to 26 students is the range of class sizes over there. And then finally, at Lunenburg High School, we have 602 students enrolled compared to 600 last year. Of those students, 584 are attending each day. 18 of those students are placed out of district at this point in time. We do have a high water mark there with that 8th grade class coming in at 145 students. Actually, a total of 148. 3 of those students are placed out of district. And so that provides you an overview in terms of our enrollment this year, and once again want to commend all the staff in terms of the organization and the assignment and the balancing of the class loads and all of those kinds of things that need to happen to ensure an effective educational program. I've provided the school committee as well as the viewing audience an overview. The numbers on this page run from kindergarten through 12th grade. Actually, the numbers on the next to the last line are our students that we consider our 12 plus grade level. Those are students who are receiving special education services through our ACE program. That's our program to develop community living as well as work skills. Those students are throughout the day, frequently out in the community at work sites and doing the kinds of things that will prepare them for more independent living. And those are the numbers that you see down at the bottom, with 5 of those students being currently enrolled with us actually not all enrolled with us. 3 are enrolled and attending, and 2 are outplaced with us of those students that are beyond that 12th grade in that 18 to 22 age range. So you see the totals there in terms of students that are receiving services outside the district. The number of choice students that we have across the district is 42. The majority of those are in grades 6 through 12. Our highest number of choice students are at the high school. You know, it's been our tradition to replace the students that might be going off to Monty Tech or other kinds of placements with choice students. Now, in our new building, if you've been following the discussion we've been having around enrollment there, the Mass School Building Authority doesn't build schools for non-resident students. And so all of those students are not counted into what our enrollment, design enrollment were. And so it was important, I think, as we go through these next series of years, as we approach, you know, occupying a new building, that we really become very conscientious around those choice openings in order to make sure that we're cognizant of what our numbers are going to be going forward in the new buildings. And then we still have 7 students from Shirley that attend under that agreement as we're continuing to basically wrap up that particular tuition agreement. So I provided you then on the final page and the final slide a summary of where we've been. This will be the first year that we're not entering a school year with a double-digit reduction in terms of our enrollment numbers. Compared to last year, you can see that we're down 5 students from the prior year. So that's a recap of where we're at in the district and our opening numbers. These numbers with enrollment, you know, we update those on a regular basis because there's some dynamic forces still in play here, so I'll keep you apprised of that going forward. But once again, we've had a very positive opening to the school year, and I appreciate everyone's efforts, including our students who came back ready to go, ready to work, and many of them picking right up where they left off in terms of knowing what the job of being a student is and moving forward. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that folks may have. If not, that will conclude my report.
Thank you. The next item is the school building committee report, which I will be making. It's been a busy couple of weeks. The current phase of design is that we're heading into completing the schematic designs, which will be submitted to the MSBA prior to the end of this month. The actual certification, I guess, for them will be at our next meeting, which is September the 30th. At that time, we should also have a cost estimate. Right now, the estimators are from the designer, and the cost estimators from the owner's project manager are working on the numbers. What they do is they work the numbers separately. We also have the construction manager is also working on numbers. So what we do is they'll have a meeting. It'll literally be, you know, a several-hour meeting where they'll sit down and go line by line through their numbers in order to come up with what they believe is the best numbers possible. And they'll challenge each other in terms of, you know, what they're using in terms of, you know, various assumptions on costs for, you know, materials and so on and so forth. So we are expecting to have some very robust numbers by the end of the month. Additionally, we have been in the process of making a number of presentations. We had a presentation to the planning board. First of all, we did make a presentation to the Board of Selectmen on the 13th. One of the questions that arose at that meeting from some of the Board of Selectmen was around our enrollment. At this phase, the Board of Selectmen were required to certify the enrollment along with the school committee. So let me follow that thought for a moment. There are two things. We asked and were granted an extension by the MSBA to further study the numbers with the MSBA. We had a 2-week extension, which took us to yesterday. In that period of time, we set up a conference call with the MSBA representatives and a couple of the members of the Board of Selectmen who had raised particular concerns. And we were on that call, myself and the superintendent, along with the folks from Jocelyn Lesser. And I think that the concerns were really addressed very clearly for a couple of reasons. Number one, the concern that 820 was not going to be a sufficient number was explained by the MSBA that one of their assumptions is that that when we go operational, they're assuming 85% utilization, so that the building has the ability to accommodate 15% more within the design that it has. So that would, if you do the fast math, that's a building of, 940 some odd folks. The concern about growth within the 10-year period and what would happen should we experience a sudden spurt of growth within that 10-year period and how that would be handled. The MSBA said that they have had those instances and have partnered with communities. They can make no guarantees, obviously, about what their funding will look like in future years. But they have at least 2 cases, Linfield and Braintree, where they actually went back and put additional space into buildings because of a sudden need. They recognize that that's their job, is to meet those needs. So there was no hard and fast rule that within the 10-year period they wouldn't consider a project should an emergency arise. I think people were placed at a greater comfort level because of that. The third thing is that they have a very thorough and robust way of projecting, population changes, utilizations, and also the fact that, again, the building, even when they're talking about how they go about figuring space and design, they don't even include the things like the gym and the auditorium and the cafeteria or special ed spaces as part of their core areas. So they've actually built the building in a way that they say, well, there will be times where, there will be a number of people that will be utilizing those spaces. So those rooms become available. Mm-hmm. So that becomes a way of managing it. And third, as the superintendent mentioned earlier, they don't build for choice. So if we find, right now we're serving, what do we see today? 40-something choices, folks, is that correct? Mm-hmm. If we find as a school committee that we see that we really don't have the space available to open those for choice, we can start ratcheting that back and control some of the growth, should there be some growth that suddenly is unexpected within that 10-year period. So I think that given all of those things, we have a great comfort level that the number of 820 is the right size number. When I say right size, the other thing that we don't want to do in running this project is to build space that we don't need, because then we're asking taxpayers to A, foot the bill for constructing space that is not necessary, and B, operating space that is not necessary. So it's very important that we right size the building. Not, it's the old Goldilocks, it's not too hard, not too soft, it's just right. So I think we've achieved that. And last night, after discussion with the Board of Selectmen voted unanimously to certify the 820 as the design enrollment. So that brings us up to that point. We met with the planning board on the 26th, and that was a very positive meeting. We will be attending all of the, representatives of the school committee will be attending all of the open houses, with the designs, with our FAQ sheets, and we'll be available to answer any questions. We're not making any, big presentation. We're just going to be in the hallway. Anybody that wants to stop by and ask us a question, we will be available to do so. I will definitely be there tomorrow night at the open house for the 6th and 7th.
Right.
Our next meeting is September the 30th. At that point, we move to the next step where we make the submission to the MSBA. And once that is accomplished and we have hard and fast numbers from the project, we will begin the process of doing public forums.
Was there any discussion on when the special vote would take place?
At the last meeting of the building committee, we had an open discussion. We've made no decision on it, but we talked about the pros and cons of doing something in December versus doing something in January. There's a lot of challenges to doing something in December, one of which is just getting the ballots printed, the warrant printed and into everybody's hands in time for a town meeting. Between when the MSBA votes their approval, which is when we'll actually know what our actual support rate will be from the MSBA, which at this point we believe we're looking at something that's closer to 56% than 53.5%.
That MSBA vote, I believe, right, is like November 20th?
Correct.
November 20th?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was earlier than that.
So,
But you had the
right, the
extension.
amount of time that we need.
So the thinking was that
that- I think
although
that was the
it's
date anyway.
although it's possible, you also run into other things like, are we going to have people's attention in the middle of the holidays? Are we going to be able to attract people, to come to meetings in that period of time? So although we haven't made any decision, there's some thought that we're really talking about in January at this point.
Okay.
And to be clear, the special vote that Todd is referring to, just based on some feedback I had while at the grocery store on the way here, I was asked when the school was going to be built, oddly enough, to remind everybody this is not a done deal yet, right? There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of great work, as we've heard, has already been done. But ultimately, we are going to have to come together as a town and vote on this. So all of you watching on TV, I would ask anybody watching on TV to talk to people like Mike, get the FAQs, understand what the steps are, raise your hand with questions, raise your hand for feedback, and just start that now. Get yourself informed so that you can make an informed decision when this time comes, be it in December, be it in January. It's an important decision for our town, and I think we all have the opportunity to do the right thing here.
Mr. Mackin, I did want to also let the community know that very shortly we're going to be posting on YouTube a real nice production that Mr. Londa worked with 3 of our recent graduates through the cable folks to put together that really demonstrates the current conditions illustrates and documents the current conditions, because we know there's many families that have not necessarily had children in Lunenburg High School in the last several years and may not be aware of what that facility's current condition is, as well as folks whose students may have graduated some time ago and haven't had the opportunity to be back in the building. So look for that announcement, and it is really a great production that those young men, along with Mr. Londa writing the script, put together for us.
I just wanted to mention as well that we will again be making our presentation with, our whole slide presentation to the FinCom, which will be televised on the 26th of this month.
I believe so.
Also to remind people that we do have a Facebook site. People have been posting questions on the Facebook site, and we have been posting responses to those questions on the Facebook site. And I know that there are other sites that people utilize for communication, the Lunenburg School and Community Facebook page. We are also, a part of that and are answering questions there. Questions have been posed on the Lunenburg Mass Facebook page, and we've been answering those. We're trying to give everybody multiple opportunities to ask their questions, express their concerns, and keep everybody informed, because I truly believe that, that's the way that people are going to understand and support this. Okay?
Yep.
Any further questions? We have no new business today, nor old business, which brings us to public comment. Seeing none. Any reports? No reports? We have no need for executive session
We
today.
do not.
I will therefore take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you.
Let's
Not
see.
bad.
If we started at 7 after.